Her hidden past unveiled by the billionaire's detective, the storm raged outside like the world itself was in pain, thunder cracked, lightning flashed, and rain pelted the rusted roof of the old warehouse on the edge of Seoul. Inside, shadows danced like restless ghosts. A woman sat on the cold concrete floor, wrists tied, hair soaked, and eyes wild with fear. Sierra. Her breath came in short, terrified bursts. The ropes around her wrists cut deep, and the metallic scent of blood mixed with the smell of rain. From the darkness, a voice spoke. So, the ghost is finally caught. The man stepped forward, his lips curling into a cruel smile. You can't hide from your past forever. Miss Moretti. The name hit her like a knife to the heart. Sierra Moretti, a name she had buried 5 years ago, along with the ashes of her family. Before she could respond, the metal door burst open with a deafening crash. A tall figure in a long black coat stepped in, his presence slicing through the chaos like lightning itself. His face was hard, drenched in rain, but his eyes dark, sharp, dangerous were locked on her. Touch her, his voice thundered, and I'll burn this entire city to the ground. It was Jean Sang, the man she thought she'd lost. The man she never believed would come back for her. The men froze, and as thunder roared overhead, Sierra's tears mixed with rain. Because in that single moment, she knew, her past had finally caught up with her, and so had her heart. The world knew Jean Sang as the youngest billionaire in South Korea, an empire builder. A genius. A man who saw life like a chessboard, calculating every move with surgical precision. But even the smartest man can fall for the one thing he doesn't understand: love. Sierra Carter's flower shop sat between two modern glass towers in Gangnam. It was small, quiet, and smelled of jasmine and rain. She preferred it that way, away from noise, away from attention. Every morning, she opened her shop before sunrise. Every night, she locked the doors twice, checked her windows, and whispered a small prayer before bed. No one knew she wasn't really Sierra Carter, no one knew she was running, but Jean Sang noticed her. The first time he saw her, she was standing behind a curtain of falling petals, sunlight spilling through the window. Her smile was soft, yet her eyes. They carried storms. To most men, she was just another pretty face. To Jean Sang, she was a puzzle. And puzzles were his weakness. He shouldn't have cared. He told himself it was just curiosity, nothing more. But one evening, he sent one of his men, a private investigator named Yoon, to look into her background, check everything. He said, I want to know who she is, where she's from, and what she's hiding. When Yoon returned 3 days later, he looked uneasy. Sir, he began, there is no Sierra Carter. No records before 2019. No birth certificate, no school, no family. Nothing. Jean Sang's brows furrowed. So she appeared out of thin air. Almost, Yoon said. But I found something. A facial match in an Italian database. Her real name is Sierra Moretti. She was reported dead 5 years ago in a fire that killed her parents. Jean Sang froze, a woman who had died. Now living under a false name in Seoul, he leaned back in his chair, eyes narrowing. So what are you hiding, flower girl? The bell above the flower shop door chimed softly. Sierra looked up and froze. The man standing before her wasn't just any customer, he carried an aura that made the air feel heavier. Can I help you? She asked, trying to sound calm. He studied her face quietly. Depends, he said at last, how long you plan to keep pretending you're someone else. Her fingers went still around the bouquet she was tying. I don't know what you're talking about. He stepped closer, voice low, dangerous. Don't lie to me, Sierra Moretti. The scissors clattered from her hands. Her world tilted. Who are you? She whispered. The man who's been protecting you, he replied. And the only one standing between you and the people who want you dead. That night, Jean Sang brought her to his penthouse. The city glittered below, but she couldn't see it through her tears. He sat across from her, silent, waiting. When she finally spoke, her voice was trembling. My father was a diplomat, she said softly. He found evidence against powerful men, people who ran a global crime ring. Before he could expose them, they set our house on fire. Her eyes grew distant, I watched them die. And I ran. I didn't even look back. Jean Sang's jaw tightened. They never stopped searching for you. I know. Her voice broke. That's why I changed everything, my name, my hair, my life. But they always find me. He stood and walked to her, kneeling gently in front of her. You're not alone anymore. For the first time, Sierra believed him. Weeks passed, Jean Sang visited her shop often, sometimes with an excuse, sometimes with none. He became her shadow, her protector, her distraction, but he also became something else, dangerous to her heart. Every time his hand brushed hers, her chest fluttered. Every time he looked at her like she was the only person in the room, she forgot why she had walls at all. Why are you doing this? She asked one night as they stood outside her shop. He smiled faintly. Because I can't walk away from you, no matter how hard I try. She swallowed. You should. My life destroys everything it touches. He stepped closer, his breath brushing her ear. Then let me be the one thing it. Rain poured one night as she ran out to close the shop windows. Jean Sang was waiting in his car, as he always did. Get in, he said. She hesitated. You don't have to, Sierra. His tone softened. Please. Inside, the world outside blurred into streaks of silver rain. She turned to him, her heart racing. I wish I could go back, she whispered. To the girl who wasn't afraid. He reached out, his thumb brushing her cheek. You don't have to go back. You just have to let me in. And before she could stop herself, she leaned forward. The kiss was soft, achingly slow, trembling with years of loneliness. For the first time since the fire, she felt something other than fear. She felt alive. But happiness never lasts long for people who live with secrets. One morning, Sierra walked into her shop and froze. The counter had been broken into, her documents scattered, her phone missing. When Jean Sang arrived, she was trembling. They know, she whispered. Someone was here. Before he could respond, his phone buzzed, an unknown number, a photo of Sierra, tied up in a dark room, then a message, come alone if you want her alive. The same warehouse where her nightmares began, the same men who had killed her parents. They thought they'd won, but they hadn't counted on Jean Sang. He came alone, or so they thought. His men surrounded the building in silence. When he stepped inside, his eyes found her immediately, beaten. Tied. But still fighting. Let her go, he said. The leader smirked. Or what? Jean Sang raised his gun. Or I'll show you why they call me the devil in a suit. In seconds, chaos erupted. Shots fired. Glass shattered. Jean Sang moved like a storm, precise, deadly, unstoppable. When it was over, he cut her ropes and pulled her into his arms. I told you, he whispered. I'd burn the city for you. Days later, Sierra woke up in a hospital bed. Jean Sang sat beside her, his hand gently wrapped around hers. You should rest, he murmured. I can't, she whispered. Not when I almost lost you. He smiled softly. You didn't lose me. You never will. Months passed, the syndicate was destroyed. The truth about her father came out. The world finally saw her not as a ghost, but as a survivor. One morning, as the shop filled with sunlight, Jean Sang walked in holding a single red rose and a small velvet box. Sierra Moretti, he said quietly, I once chased you to uncover your secrets. Now, I just want to spend forever keeping them safe. Her lips trembled. Jean Sang, he went down on one knee. Marry me. Tears filled her eyes. Yes. As he slipped the ring onto her finger, the bell above the door chimed softly, the same sound that had started it all, and this time, it didn't sound like a warning, it sounded like a beginning. A year later, in that same shop, a photo hung behind the counter, Sierra and Jean Sang, smiling under a shower of white petals. The girl who once ran from her past now lived her future fearlessly, and the man who once sought truth had found something even rarer, love, because sometimes, the past doesn't need to be erased, it just needs to be rewritten, by the right person. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Also click on the notification bell, so that you will get notified whenever a new story comes up. You can also go ahead to tell me the country you are watching from, so that I can make a story for you.